Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host for the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I'd like to welcome back Nancy Zelaya. I've actually had Nancy. Yeah, hey, Nancy. I've had Nancy on my podcast about a year when I started out, a little over a year ago, and she did a couple Spanish episodes, which I'm really grateful for, and we did it on nutrition and exercise. This time, Nancy is coming back to A Little Less Fear podcast to talk about her coming out story as a lesbian, coming from a Nicaraguan background and also going to doctoral school at a Seventh-day Adventist school. I can't even imagine. That's like a double, triple whammo. But I'd like to know, and I'm thankful that you're back on this podcast with A Little Less Fear to talk about such an incredible background of yours and how you've juggled all of it. So welcome back, Nancy.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
So, I know it's not easy coming out as a lesbian, me being a former lesbian. I know it sounds funny, but before I was a trans man, I came out as a lesbian because I was trying different ways to fit in to the world. And I enjoyed dating females at the time, and I was a female identified individual. So at the time I was a lesbian, and it was really difficult coming out in a Latino Catholic family. I got discriminated against left and right, and a lot of people in my family telling me, well, how do you know you're a lesbian if you haven't gone the other way or you haven't been with the guy yet and all this stuff? And it was like they were always pushing me and forcing me to do something at the time I wasn't ready to do. But I'm really glad that you're coming out and that you're talking about your story. So tell us about your coming out story first as a lesbian.
Yeah, so I came out to my friends before I even came out kind of to like my family per se. But even in high school, I think I dressed like pretty girly per se for the most part. And then start of high school, I'm talking like freshman year. That's kind of when I started, like I've always kind of knew, but that's when I was trying to throw hints like to the world. So I would still dress girly, but my friends would talk about boys and I wouldn't even like care. So I was trying to
wouldn't engage with them.
Yeah, I wouldn't really engage with it. So I was just, throwing hints in a sense. But I feel like I was comfortable enough to tell. I had two friends, both of their names were Alejandra. I was able to be comfortable enough to tell them too, and seeing how they were so like accepting about it, and it kind of gave me the confidence to eventually tell my family and be more out to the public per se. So I did do it. I didn't do it like out of nowhere, but I did like a smooth transition to coming out. As for my family, I first came out to my sister because I trust my sister more than anyone. So I told my sister, and that was the biggest deal for me because that was it was the one I was the most scared of because I'm so close to my sister. Like that's like my best friend. So like telling her was like, oh my god, like the end of the world for me. So
how did you tell your sister? Were you just hanging out one day and you're like, hey, guess what?
No, I did it. I should have done it in person, but I did it like through like the phone.
Oh, like, wow.
Yeah. I probably should have told her in person, but I ended up telling her again through the phone. But she took it the right way, and she eventually like motivated me enough. Like her reaction and her being accepting, like allowed me to be more confident with telling others per se. Yeah.
Is she your only sibling?
I have a brother, but I'm mainly like close to my sister. Yeah.
So how did you have this conversation with her? Were you just talking about anything? I mean, just like the day is beautiful. Oh, by the way, I like girls.
It was a little bit random, actually. It was really random. I think it was just like it was really random, but I think it was around that time where I had just came out to like the Alejandras, like around that time.
Yeah.
Like, and it kind of like, I was like, how can I tell? Like, I'm really close to them. They were probably my best friends at that time in school. But I was like, if I could tell them, I should be able to tell my sister. So I was able to tell my sister eventually, and her reaction was like very well. Like, I already knew like she was like an ally per se in like the LGBT community. So
But
it
how
just,
did that conversation actually come about? Were you just like, hey, there's something I need to tell you?
yeah, basically in that sense, kind of like that type of transition. Yeah. Yeah,
And
kind
so
of like
what were her words after that?
I think she was more like, "You should have told me earlier." Her
Oh,
reaction. Yeah, yeah, but I was like, "Yeah, I should have." Yeah.
well, that must have been quite a relief that your sister also being like your best friend, that you were able to tell her the way you were able to tell the Alejandras.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So now you told your sister, and now your friends know. What was next in the coming out process?
Uh, it was, I think, like school, and then like my mom, like basically like yes, but I think as for the school, I think it was a very, I guess, liberal school per se, if that's the right word. More like open school than like super like strict and private. It's public school in California, so
Oh,
that
wait. I'm sorry. You're talking about high school. Or you're talking about the university.
oh, high school, yeah, no,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay.
I mean, it's public, so it's like it was
Yeah.
easy. It's in California. I feel like most of them are like gonna be supportive of it. As for my mom, I think at first she was like a little confused, a little bit in denial, but eventually, like she understood. So yeah, like she never like gave me the the leave my house because you're gay type of thing, like ever. Like she was never like that. It was more like, are you sure? And type of thing. And then like yeah, but eventually she's like, okay, this girl's sure. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was good. But so lucky, I
Did,
was lucky. Not everyone has that like acceptance from the people around them.
oh, yeah, that's beautiful that you got that acceptance. When you came out to your mother, did you tell her in Spanish or did you tell her in English? Because I know that that can feel differently.
So it was basically, it was kind of like with my siblings basically telling her for me in a sense. But yeah, they told their, and then Spanish basically. Yeah. But I think she was again kind of like, I think it was more like I was like she was in shock type of
Uh-huh.
thing. Yeah. So my sibling told her, and then like she was in shock in a sense. And yeah. But I mean, it's okay. I think that's just gonna be naturally a parent's reaction in a sense, because especially if they come from a background that's a bit more old school, like again, like maybe
Yeah.
from Nicaragua, I feel like they're not too exposed to those types of
Right.
sexualities per se. So I didn't take it the wrong way because I was like, you know what, she's not used to it. I'm her first like I guess gay person in the family per se. So like understand, like I wasn't like offended and I didn't take it personally. Yeah.
Well, I doubt you're the first gay person, but you're probably the
Yeah.
first open one,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is incredible. It means you're paving the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And you're also helping your ancestors heal when you do stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that was and then I wanna like I mean I wanna I have like girlfriends and wanna like UC Riverside, which again it's like a public liberal school. I had no problem. Then I went to Loma Linda, and I mean Loma Linda's not that they're like super like you can't be gay at our school type of thing. But it is a different environment. Like tattoos, you have to cover them up. So it's like, and I'm like blasted. So it's like even that I have to like cover it in the heat.
Wow. How do
Yeah,
you have to cover all your tats in that heat? Oh
yeah,
man.
it's not the funnest thing sometimes. But yeah, so I was like the first year or two, I was like always like wearing like jackets to cover them up. And then, I just saw how strict they were. So I was like, I don't really think I express myself as super like at least how I dress. I think sometimes I could dress boyish, I guess you could say, or more masculine.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant in how I dressed at that institution because
Sure.
I don't know how they would take it, whether it was my professors or my peers. Simply because like, again, I feel like a lot of the students come from a religious background, and as well as the professors. And, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to make them uncomfortable or like make myself uncomfortable. So it was like a mutual thing. Like, I don't want to be uncomfortable and I don't want to make them uncomfortable.
What exactly is Seventh-day Adventist?
It's a religion, more like a Christian based religion in a sense. Yeah.
Okay. And so you don't really see that many gay people there? Is that what it is?
They do have a club, but I never went. They should have gone it. It's like a support group type of thing for
Mhm.
LGBTQ plus students.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a step up, you know, because
Sure.
because UC Riverside does have like different groups, like several different groups of LGBTQ plus, like they
Yeah.
have a whole center basically, you know, so it's like a big thing. It's like a whole center with different clubs in it. So even though it's just one support group, it's a big step up, you know, considering the school type of school it is and the background of the school. So yeah, I mean, I was a little hesitant, but I feel like I'm never, even in a work setting, in a professional setting, I'm never the type of person to be like, talk about my sexuality unless
Right.
they bring it up. So, you know, if they bring it up, then it's like, oh, okay, you know, I'm not gonna like be like, oh no, like I'm not gonna not tell them that I'm gay, but I'm also not the person to be like, oh yeah, hi, I'm Nancy and I'm gay. Yeah, so I just let it like I let it transition in. And then if they're like bringing it up, or they're like, oh, are you seeing anybody, or do you have a boyfriend, you know, and I'll bring it up like, oh no, I don't have a boyfriend. And then they're like, you know, they're like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Like, because that's happened to me. People have like, oh,
Yeah.
you have a boyfriend, but do you have a girlfriend? I'm like, no, I don't have a girlfriend. But yeah, I see women, but yeah.
So it seems like now, I mean, you're living in the right times though, because people are really starting to accept it and just see it now as like a normal. With what looking at it and seeing it for what it is, which is we're just all human beings.
Yeah.
Or do you still feel like you struggle with it?
No, I think um I think in like in healthcare per se, I feel like part of me, I feel like there's still those older people, as bad as it sounds, that I don't know how they're gonna take my
That's
sexuality as.
true. That's
I mean, I'm
true.
just wearing a white coat. You can't really tell that I'm like, you know, like I'm gay.
Yeah.
No, I'm wearing a white coat, or I'm like dressed professionally. I'm wearing makeup. Like you can't tell, per se, if you want to stereotype it, like, oh, she looks like a stereotypical lesbian.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like part of me, again, like, you know, patients are always most of the time in the right per se. So I don't want a patient going off on me simply because of my
Right.
sexuality or stuff. So because then it's like I can't like, you know, I don't want to defend myself and put my license at risk. It
Oh
gets
yeah.
really complex in that sense. So, you know, um so with that, like it's better. I would if it, I've never ever faced discrimination because of my sexuality from a
Oh,
patient,
good.
thankfully from a patient, but
Yes, thankfully.
or even from a client when I was a personal trainer, and like some of my clients knew, and it's like it's fine. Like, you know, like I would open up about it if they asked, and I never had any bad like
Well, I'm sure you've broken some guys' hearts though.
like I've never like given them I've never given like a I've never been given a bad reaction from any of my clients. Patients, I've never told a patient in my life, but I feel like I've never been like as a personal trainer. You have a closer like relationship with your clients than with your patients, because your patients aren't as like they're consistent but not as consistent. So it makes sense. Some patients you'll see once and never see again. So it makes sense. But yeah, but I thankfully haven't had a bad reaction. And if I did ever have a bad reaction, I think it's just like I would just ignore it. I mean, there's not much to do. I mean, just tell them like I apologize that it makes you uncomfortable, because it's not. I'm apologizing for their discomfort, not for being gay. And so
Right,
I feel like
exactly.
someone else could help you, you know, if they ever like,
Yeah.
yeah. But if they ever asked, I would honestly answer the question, like, yeah, I'm lesbian. Yeah, I have no problem answering the question, but it's like, will they take it the right way? Who knows?
Yeah, what about your other family members, like cousins and aunts and stuff? Because I know that sometimes aunties can talk. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, no, definitely. But I think I've had good reactions thus far, thankfully. Some of my family out in Nicaragua don't know, like, but like I feel like when the time I haven't visited in forever, but when the time does come when I visit, like I feel like they'll eventually figure it out. And if not, if they ask, I'll probably just tell them on the spot. I think I've gained the confidence to be able to do that. Maybe like 4 years ago, I probably wouldn't be saying that.
oh
But
yeah, right?
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. I've had some family in Nicaragua actually find out through other family members, so it's kind of like a chain reaction where
Yeah, right.
one person finds out through the other. Because I guess like my dad found out through like cousin from his side of the family. I mean, my dad's reaction, he didn't care. But
Yeah.
like I don't really have a close relationship to my dad to begin with, but either way, like he was super chill about it. But it's like it's kind of funny how you don't even have to come out. It makes it easier. I don't even get mad. Like my sister was like, "Oh, like you should be the one to be telling people," but I'm like, "No, honestly, it kind of makes it easier for me."
Yeah, you don't really have to. Just like me, I was like, man, should I tell people I'm trans? I'm like, well, no. At some point, they're all gonna figure out that I'm no longer a girl.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I mean, I'm not in a serious relationship and I'm not seeing anyone in the moment, but it's like if the time comes, I'm not looking for a relationship, but if the time comes and it's like I get married, I'm like they're gonna find out all at once regardless.
So you have goals to get married?
I'm open to it. I'm not like it's my priority in life or whatever, or like it's my main goal. But I think I am open to it. I'm not one of those people who's like I don't want marriage. I think I used to be, but now I'm just like I'm okay with or without marriage. Like I'm
Yeah.
pretty neutral. Yeah.
Yeah, times are changing, that's for sure. Where like nowadays people don't really need to be married to have a committed relationship. You know, you can be committed without the contract type thing.
Yeah, yeah, I think that that question's always common. I get a lot of like texts at like sites because I have rotations like asking me like, "Oh, do you want to get married?" Oh, because I'm only 24, and they're like, "Oh, you're about to like graduate at 24," or they're like, "Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids?" And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't even thought about it that far.
Wait, I think you were 20 when I met you. So that was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, for you. Oh yeah, basically.
Wow, that's incredible. And now look at you finishing your doctorate.
Yeah.
Nancy, I'm so happy for you. This is
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I'm
So
a
what's next for you in your career?
I'll probably think about going into like the pharmacy. I'm thinking about informatics route, pharmacy informatics route, or I like the specialty pharmacy route as well. So I'm kind of open to a lot of things. I've thought about starting my own specialty pharmacy. I just don't know where to start. So that's a
That's
big
a
goal.
great idea. I'll
That's a
come to you. I've got a lot of specialty medication. My immunosuppressant medications, those are
yeah.
specialty pharmacies.
Yeah, yeah, I've thought about it because I see it's like a field that's kind of blooming. Like a lot of pharmacy is, as bad as it sounds, it's kind of like a dead end in a sense where it's like a lot of like community pharmacies don't treat their pharmacists the best way, and a lot of pharmacists are scared to talk about it. So like the environment of like a lot of these big chain pharmacies, community pharmacies aren't the best. And again, like the field can be so saturated that people are scared to speak up and they just stay in an environment that's bad for them or
You know
meant.
what? I've met a lot of pharmacists that were really unhappy with their positions, and I'm wondering what's going on. Now, you just mentioned it right now. What's
Yeah,
going on in that culture that's causing the unhappiness?
yeah, I think I mean, I'm not a pharmacist so like as for yet, but almost in a sense. And I'm an licensed intern pharmacist in California and Arizona. But I think the problem is that we have too many. It's like too much supply and not enough demand in a sense.
Okay.
Um, and I think like there's too many pharmacy schools, so it's really competitive. But it's mainly in the sense again of like the hospital, clinical, and community setting. When you look at, I did a specialty rotation. I love that rotation. Probably my favorite one, like one of my favorite ones so far.
The hospital rotation?
No, the specialty.
Oh, the specialty rotation.
Yeah, because I saw how like uprising it was like that. You know, it's like it's moving upwards. It's like you see community pharmacies, they plateau, they're okay with that many like pharmacists. If anything, they're trying to get rid of people, and now and you see the specialty pharmacy, and then I was reading more about like articles, and you see that it's like blooming, like it's going upwards. And I don't think maybe a lot of pharmacists don't realize it. And also a lot of the specialty meds that like you barely brush up on them in pharmacy school, as bad as it sounds. So, and to gain experience, how can you gain experience in something you're not too confident about? So thankfully, I got the opportunity to do a rotation at a specialty pharmacy, but I think that's a field that is growing. So that gives me hope on pharmacy. But a lot of these big corps, like, the one that starts with W, the one that starts with C, those like big like corps, big names, those big pharmacies can be very greedy. They have a lot of money, but unfortunately, and a lot of people, I'm never scared to speak up. Like, I feel like, like I always say, one door closes, another one opens, but a lot of people are scared to speak up. And I mean, it's okay. It makes sense. It's like you work so hard and why do you want to close doors? But I also think like I'd rather close a door than be miserable my whole life.
Sure. Yeah, right.
So I mean, I have like my backup, I guess you could call it, my master's, and a bachelor's in neuroscience, and I have like, and then I have like certs in different fields and stuff, but like, yeah, I think it could be a very toxic environment in a sense. Like, again, the saturation of the field, too many pharmacy schools, not enough like opportunities per se.
Oh, wow.
And then again, like residencies for pharmacy students and medical students, just like students in general, like they enforce it, yet they pay their students very minimal, like very poorly. So it's like some people might feel like the only way to get a job is through the residency. So it kind of becomes an unhealthy healthcare environment. I feel like people don't realize the cons of healthcare until once they're in it.
Once you're actually in it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like I think we watch Grey's Anatomy, we watch all those like movies, and they glorify the healthcare.
Right.
But
Were you able to have any experience in the hospitals, like hospital rotation?
Yeah, I've had some hospital rotations. Yeah, like, I've had some hospital rotations, like especially during COVID, and it was intense. It was scary because you're going into these like COVID infected environments.
Oh man,
it's a little anxiety triggering, especially like because like I'm always like scared of like getting my family sick. Like I'm not scared of getting myself sick, but I'm more because I'm pretty young, I'm pretty healthy, but like I'm scared of getting my family members, like my grandma and my mom, sick. So,
me too, definitely. So Nancy, like, I think this is really amazing. Seriously, that in your culture, in your age group, like it's amazing. You're inspiring people. You're becoming a doctor at such a young age, and you're coming out with your gender sexuality and being proud of it. Yeah. What can you tell people who struggle with coming out?
Yeah, so I think honestly, you'll get more peace of mind by coming out. I think a lot of times we put other people before ourselves, and I'm guilty of it as well.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be in the back of your head. Like, you know, I think the more things you get out of the back of your head, I like to think about it that way. Like, the more like healthy and the more like your mental health will improve overall in general. So honestly, I think long term it might be more beneficial. Again, every situation's different. They're like, then every culture is different. So, I mean, I understand, sometimes I do understand that some cultures, like in some countries, like your life may be at risk if you come out. So, I mean, I'm not like, in that sense, honestly, even myself, I would honestly probably just fake it till I made it, in a sense. Like, but I think like in America per se, even in America, my advice is basically just like, just honestly, don't rush yourself either, and don't do it for another person. I think there's people that I've like even dated beforehand that would like, and I was in high school, but like, in a sense, like come out for me. Like that's just so like who have dated like people who are like in the closet still. Like I never ever want to be the reason for someone coming out. So a person should come out for themselves, not for their partner, and they should come out when they're ready. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's in the back of my head, I'm going to come out today. Like, no, just do it when you're ready. Don't rush it. But also, don't keep it there forever, because if you keep it there, it's like a bubble. It's just going to be like getting bigger and bigger, and it's just going to become like a burden per se when it shouldn't be. So just like do it when you're ready, and always tell the person that you like, people you trust the most, or feel they'd be the more accepting ones per se. And it doesn't have to be like family first, because even if you trust your family member the most, like again, like me or my sister, it might be the scariest one in a sense, like because that person's so close to you. So maybe do it in a happy medium, like me with like the Alejandros at the time. Like that was my happy medium. Like, I trust them enough and I'm comfortable enough. But again, like do it to people again that you feel would react the best first, and that you trust wouldn't spread it to the whole world, or do it to like come out to them first. Do it in a stepwise, like 1, 2, like in steps. I think that's my advice, instead of doing it all at once, or like. But there's some people who come out different ways. That worked for me. I know some people who just like post something once on their social media and that's they're coming out, which if that's for you, then do it. That would trigger my anxiety, because I'd probably get messages and messages. So I would never be able to do that. But if that works for someone, then by all means, like I support it. But honestly, just don't be afraid, because a lot of times we don't come out simply because we're putting other people before ourselves and other people's opinions before ourselves. But people are going to judge regardless. People are always going to have something to say, whether you're straight, gay, a doctor, or anything. They're always going to, you could have them be the most successful, most stable person in the world, and someone will have something negative to say. So, it's always just good to be yourself and like, just be free. You'll feel more free if you're yourself.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's our divine right to be authentic, and authenticity is being yourself. Yeah. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to be authentic and to show the world that that's what love is. Love is authenticity.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thanks so much. It's crazy about every year I've only been doing this for a year and a half, but there's been at least 6 or 7 coming out stories that I've done. And it's always I love doing these stories, because you get the people that are like, oh no, coming out wasn't even a thing for me. Is coming out even a thing these days? Like, it's not even a big deal anymore. That people don't even need to come out anymore. It's not like it was years ago. I've heard that, but then I've heard people say, oh man, it was awful in my family. No one loved me and accepted me. So when I hear these stories, and then I hear that, the story that you gave right now, as far as the advice to give people on what to come out, first be slow, like it's still needing to be out there, and people still need the support, and people still need ways to come out and hear these stories. And I am glad to see that there are some changes in that, and that it's becoming easier and easier as time goes by. But for the majority of the people, I would say that it's still not easy to come out, because it's still the majority to be, walk a straight line, if you want to say it that way. But I do love how things are starting to change, because even from like the time that I met you, I remember when I met you, for people that don't know this about Nancy and we met because Nancy was my personal trainer. And I remember I was shy to even come out to Nancy, telling her that I was transgender. But I realized that if I didn't tell Nancy the truth, how was she even going to know what I wanted to do with my body, that I wanted a masculine body, that I was trying to change my body, that I had curves like her, that I had boobs like her, that I needed to be honest and open and let her know that I'm transgender. I used to have this type of body, and now my body's changing. And if it wasn't for my authenticity, my honesty, Nancy probably wouldn't have known what direction to guide me in. So I was actually really happy that Nancy told me. I didn't even know Nancy was a lesbian until later. I don't even know how I found out, honestly. I don't even remember how I found out. But I felt even more comfortable once Nancy told me, or I found out that she was a lesbian, because then I knew, okay, we're coming from the same family. Yeah. And it was just a little more at ease in that way. I mean, if you ask me, I think if you're still interested in doing personal training, and you come out to people about being a lesbian, especially the transgender community, I can guarantee you, you're going to get a lot more people coming in to asking for your help and your assistance.
Yeah, and again, like I even when I like left that gym, train at that gym, like I told you, I'm gonna put you with a trainer that I know is like an ally or like supportive and is like accepting of it, because I think like you never know how some people are, and you just know how other people are, like automatically, as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
So you want to create a comfortable environment, like that's super important. Yeah, so I just wanted to again put like my clients who were like LGBTQ plus, put them in with a trainer that like would make them comfortable.
Yeah, and I mean another reason why I felt comfortable with you though is because when my other trainers didn't know, they were men, you know, biological heterosexual born cis men, and they were excellent too. I had wonderful experience with them, but I felt like I wasn't able to be like, oh, hang on, I'm not strong enough to do those many reps yet, or I can't do this yet. Like I couldn't explain to them. I didn't feel comfortable yet. Now I know them, and now they know I'm trans, so we're cool now. But back then, I mean, that was like 3 or 4 years ago already. I feel that if I personally would have come out right away, or maybe would have educated them and actually doing research too on how to ease a trans man into changing their body from female to male. And luckily, I had that ease with you. So thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Are you looking forward? Are you thinking about going into training at all again?
Yeah, I've considered it. Yeah, I was like about to open it up to anyone ever has any questions. Like, feel free to like let me know. Like, if you guys have questions about like fitness, I still have the active certs and stuff. And so if you guys have any questions about like how to approach like a regimen, or like a routine, and being like trans or being like a lesbian and having or gay and having a different body goal than like what the like
Yeah,
straight
right.
people have, per se, as bad as it sounds. Like feel free to like just ask me or even ask Lino, and Lino could forward it to me the question. Like, yeah.
Thanks so much. We really needed this. Nancy, how can our viewers or watchers and our listeners get a hold of you if they have any questions, either about coming out or about their exercise program or about pharmacy school? How can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram. It's ZELAYANM. So Zelaya NM. That's my last name, my first initial and my middle initial. So yeah, you could just like send me a DM, and then I'll answer, and I'll answer any questions anyone has. Yeah.
Everybody, this is my good friend Nancy Zelaya. Thanks so much for being a little less for your podcast. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. Make sure you follow us for more tips, information, and to keep sharing the light and spreading the love. Make sure you get a copy of my book. It's available on Amazon Kindle. You can also tune into www.alittlelessfear.com and get your copy there and tune into this incredible podcast there. Thanks again, Nancy, for your love, light, and your happiness. And you be that incredible lesbian that you are. I love you so much.
You love you too.
Thanks, Nancy. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to A Little Less Fear podcast. For more information on my social media pages, you can visit me at www.alittlelessfear.com. I also have an incredible list of resources for people all over the world, and it's really formulated to help all kinds of people: LGBTQIA community, Alcoholics Anonymous, disabilities. The list goes on. So feel free to visit my website, alittlelessfear.com. You can also email me at alittlelessfear@gmail.com. I'm also on Patreon. I'm a life purpose counselor on Patreon. This is available for everybody, and it's also available for only exclusive members on Patreon. Everybody's welcome. So please visit me there at www.patreon.com/alittlelessfear. Thank you to all the new followers and subscribers. Go ahead and hit the follow, subscribe button if you haven't already, and tell your friends and family about A Little Less Fear podcast. Thanks so much for all your support. Love you all. Have a blessed day.